Gone too soon. On September 20, Cuban-born Jose Fernandez confessed to his teammate Martin Prado that his game against the Washington Nationals was, quote, the best game he ever pitched, unquote. Unfortunately, it would be his last. On September 25th, 2016, Miami Marlins pitcher Jose Fernandez, one of the true rising stars in the game, was killed in a boating accident in Miami Beach. He was just 24. This led me into remembering 15 athletes that were killed before or during the prime of their careers. Roberto Clemente. Roberto Clemente died on December 31st, 1972. A Pirates legend and favorite son of his native Puerto Rico, Roberto Clemente died in an airplane crash while attempting to deliver relief supplies to earthquake victims in Nicaragua. Inducted into the Hall of Fame the year after his tragic death, Clemente's body was never found after his plane went down off the coast of San Juan shortly after takeoff. Dale Earnhardt Sr. The death of the man, known as the Intimidator, stunned the NASCAR world. Earnhardt was running third behind two cars he owned when, after tangling with Sterling Marlin, his car slammed into the fourth turn wall in the final lap of the 2001 Daytona 500. The crash looked like thousands of others in which drivers had walked away. Earnhardt did it, and some say his death changed the sport forever. His death came 3 years after the year he won the Daytona 500 in 1998, the sport's Super Bowl, in his 20th attempt.
So he never had a chance. Plus, Schrader was riding him into the wall, so you get the impact of not only one car, but two cars. Looks like right there.
Maybe right there, Sterling did get into it.
Sterling got into him, and here he goes.
Yes.
And, man, he's being, not only is he going into the wall, but he's got Schrader riding in there with him.
And lucky they didn't take another 6 cars with them.
Yeah, but that's, I don't like that. That's not the kind of crash. That's the kind of crash that hurts you.
Ayrton Senna. The 34-year-old Brazilian's legacy may not be in the 3 Formula One world titles he held, or the 41 races he won, but in the fact that he is the last Grand Prix driver to die at the wheel. On that May morning, after 2 scares involving other drivers at the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix, Senna met with other drivers to discuss safety. That afternoon, in the 7th lap, while leading that race, Senna crashed into a retaining wall and was killed in front of a live television audience. He received a state funeral in his native Brazil.
I must say I have concern at the fact that Senna is sitting in the car still, not moving, and B, surprisingly, there is not a lot of action. And here it is. Now look, he's going into the left-hander tremendously fast, and he runs wide and goes straight off. Doesn't even attempt to take the corner. And, well, I say that's about 190 miles an hour at that point, the exit from the Tamburello. They're still building up speed, but it was not very far short of 200 miles an hour. You can see the debris pouring off the car as Gerhard Berger comes through in the Ferrari. Yes, and already
the point where I think Gerhard Berger went off, John, a couple of years ago.
Hank Gathers. Hank Gathers was just 23 years old when his death was caught on camera. Midway through the first half of a West Coast Conference tournament game against Portland State, the Loyola Marymount University forward soared up for a dunk. Seconds later, he crumbled to the floor, struggled to get up, and then went into convulsions. Less than 2 hours later, he was declared dead. He had a pre-diagnosed heart condition. Reggie Lewis. Just 3 years after the outcry surrounding Hank Gather's death, and months after the first signs that he had a similar heart problem, Lewis collapsed and died during an off-season workout. The 6'7" captain of the Celtics had passed out during a playoff game at the Boston Garden in April. It would turn out to be his final game.
Hitting the deck is Reggie Lewis. Is he all right? Inside to Perry. He's down right now. He's hurt. They're going to have to give a foul.
After the first at Boston's New England Baptist Hospital returned with a verdict that he could not safely return to professional basketball. The second opinion said he could play, and a third recommended that he continue to have his heart monitored. Lewis was leaning towards returning to the NBA with the precaution of having a cardiologist and defibrillator on hand, but never got the chance. Len Bias. Less than 48 hours after being selected as the first round pick, second overall, of the defending NBA champion Boston Celtics, the 22-year-old was dead of a cocaine overdose. As a result of his death, Congress passed a strict anti-drug act, which also created the DARE programs found in communities across the country. Sean Taylor. The 24-year-old defensive back was murdered in his Miami area home. The Redskins' first-round fifth overall pick of the 2004 draft, Taylor had won a national championship with the University of Miami in 2001. He was shot in the early morning hours at his home during a robbery and was declared dead the next day.
Some jolting news off the field on Monday. Redskins safety Sean Taylor in critical condition after he was shot in his Florida home early Monday morning. Police officers were dispatched to Taylor's Miami area home at 1:45 a.m. and Taylor was later airlifted to a local hospital.
The Redskins honored him with black ribbons on their jerseys and with the defense taking the field with just 10 players on the first play of their December 2nd loss to the Bills. Despite his short career, Taylor is considered to be one of the best safeties to ever play the game by most. Pat Tillman.
My great-grandfather was at Pearl Harbor, and a lot of my family has given up, has gone and fought in wars, and I really haven't done a damn thing as far as laying myself on the line like that, and so I have a great deal of respect for those that have and what the flag stands for.
Citing the attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, the Cardinals safety turned down a reported 3-year, $3.6 million offer to return to the NFL and enlisted in the U.S. Army. Less than 2 years after he enlisted, Tillman was killed in a controversial friendly fire accident in Afghanistan. Shot 3 times in the head. The Army initially misled Tillman's family about his death, purposely citing enemy fire as the cause of death. After a congressional inquiry, Tillman's family learned the truth and heavily criticized the Army. In his memory, the Cardinals have named the plaza around the stadium the Pat Tillman Freedom Plaza, and his alma mater, Arizona State, named the entrance to their stadium the Pat Tillman Memorial Tunnel. The NFL gave $250,000 to the United Service Organization in 2004 to build a Pat Tillman USO Center.
There's so much more than people will ever know, because he was so unique in so many ways.
The narrative seemed perfect. War hero and football star dies fighting terror. We now know, of course, that it was all a charade. Pat Tillman was killed by friendly fire, and the Army knew.
Derrick Thomas. On his way to the airport to catch a plane to St. Louis to see the NFC Championship game, driving through a snowstorm, the Chiefs linebacker lost control of his SUV, overturning it at least 3 times. A passenger was killed, and Thomas was paralyzed from the neck down. Weeks later, on February 8, 2000, the 33-year-old died of a massive blood clot in his lung.
It's too early to tell right now. We just have to see how he does, and we'll take it day by day.
As big and strong as he is, do you find that in the way that a mother would know, is he scared right now?
Of course. Anybody would be scared at this time.
Feared for his ability to pressure the quarterback, Thomas had 126.5 sacks in his career, highlighted by his 7 sacks in one game. He was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame's class of 2009. Pele Lindbergh. Just as his star was rising in the NHL, coming off a 40-win season, the Swedish goaltender 40 Flyers was killed in a car accident. Lindbergh, who was the goaltender on the NHL All-Rookie team in 1982-83, and was the first European to win the Vezina after his 40-win season in 84-85. Crashed his customized Porsche into a wall outside an elementary school in New Jersey, injuring 2 others. Tests showed Lindbergh was legally intoxicated at the time of his crash. He was the leading vote-getter for the 1986 NHL All-Star Game. And though they have never retired his jersey, number 31 has never again been worn by a Flyer. Steve Olin and Tim Cruz.
Grim news from spring training in Florida. Cleveland Indians pitcher Steve Olin has been killed in a boating accident. 2 other Cleveland pitchers in the accident as well. Tim Cruz, not expected to live. Bob Ojeda will recover.
With an off day during spring training, Tim Cruz invited his teammates to his home on Little Lake Nellie for a barbecue and fishing. After 8 p.m., Cruz, a free agent reliever, who after 6 seasons with the Dodgers had just signed a deal with the Indians, Olin, a right-handed reliever who had pitched 4 seasons with the Indians, set out with a third teammate in an open-air bass boat. At a high rate of speed, the boat, driven by Cruz, crashed into a dock. Olin, 27, was killed instantly. Cruz, 32, died of head injuries the next day. Former Met and Yankee and current SNY analyst Bobby Ojeda was the accident's lone survivor.
Middle relief. He is survived by his wife Lori and 3 children, 9-year-old Tricia, and 2 sons, Sean, aged 4, and 2-year-old Travis.
Andres Escobar. A defender on the 1994 Colombian World Cup team, Escobar directed a pass back that got past his goaltender and gave the U.S. a goal. The Colombians were eliminated in the game, and many believe that misdirected pass led to his murder less than a month later. On July 2, 1994, Andres Escobar was shot and killed outside a bar. Rumors buzzed that the murder was ordered by drug lords, who were outraged when Escobar's goal and the Colombians' loss cost them money in bets. A local teacher was later convicted of the murder. Drazen Petrovic. Petrovic paved the way for international ballers in the NBA. Starring in Europe before coming to the NBA in 1989, where he played 4 seasons with the Portland Trail Blazers and New Jersey Nets. But Petrovic never got to see the fruits of his pioneering ways. After his best season in the NBA, in which he averaged 22.3 points per game for the 1992-93 Nets, Petrovic died in an automobile accident on the Autobahn in Germany. The Nets retired his number 3 jersey on November 11, 1993. Alexei Sara Panov. The 19-year-old Sara Panov was considered among the best of a crop of young Russian hockey players. That included NHL star Alex Ovechkin, when he collapsed on the ice during a Continental Hockey League game with his club, Avangard Omsk. The Rangers' 2007 first-round draft pick was rushed to the hospital, and where he died a short time later despite being revived on 2 separate occasions. Federal investigators in Russia later revealed the Blue Shirts prospect had been taking performance-enhancing drugs for months. Joe Delaney. The Chiefs running back won AFC Rookie of the Year in 1981 and went to the Pro Bowl the same year. But he only played 2 seasons in the NFL and never got to see his potential come to full fruition.
Well, we got the call, the Monroe Police Department did, at about 1:28. We got the call that there had been a drowning at Chenault Park. 3 children had went to the pond to swim across it, and 2 of them had gone down and not come up.
In an act that defined and claimed his heroic life, Delaney drowned while attempting to save 3 kids from a similar fate in Shinners Creek in Monroe, Louisiana. Delaney was honored across the country after his death for his bravery and was posthumously awarded the President's Citizen Medal by President Ronald Reagan.